Hey guys, it's Raleigh, and with Janthir Wilds coming to an end, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the Titans. Since the Titans have been the main villains of this expansion, but we don't have a lot of info on why they have returned, I thought it would be interesting to propose a theory centered around the Titans, which in a way is a continuation on a previous theory that I've had. A recent YouTube comment, however, made me realize that players that didn't play Guild Wars 1 would have really no idea about the history of the Titans. So I thought before we get into theorizing about the villains of this expansion, perhaps it would be a good idea to take a step back and review everything that we know of the history of the Titans. As always with these history of videos, the full credit goes out to the wiki team since this summary comes straight from over there. But without further delay, let's get into it. Titans are creatures created by twisting tormented souls into monstrous forms. Some Forgotten claimed that at least the older Titans were almost as old as their race. Seers have suggested that Titans have remained unchanged for eons, seemingly predating the creation of the Foundry of Failed Creations. When the fallen god Abaddon and his Marganite followers were imprisoned in the realm of torment for their attempted coup against the other gods in 0 AE, a location that would become known as the Foundry of Failed Creations detained particularly troublesome Marganite prisoners. The foulest of those incarcerated was an ancient demonic spirit known as the Fury, having been the former god Doom's follower before becoming a servant of Abaddon as well. When the Fury managed to break free of its shackles at some point, it sundered its surroundings, only to reassemble them to mimic the twisted visions trapped inside its cruel mind. An ethereal fire billowed at the core of the Foundry, with the flames being so hot that they could melt souls together. The Fury would use the Foundry's flames to create Titans to serve its imprisoned master's sinister goals. Some Titans eventually managed to enter Tyria, where they would bide their time. At some point, the dragon prophet Glint became aware of the eventual threat of the Titans. She wrote cryptic lines about them and various other threats to Tyria in her Flameseeker prophecies, which she compiled in 272 AE. She deliberately let the content of the prophecies spread to attract the attention of those who would be destined to enact them. However, she kept some key verses to herself to not tip future sinister forces to her true plans, which would involve eradicating many threats to Tyria in one swoop. The Tyrian Mursat, a race of cruel and ambitious spellcasters, would eventually learn about these prophecies that predicted their doom at the hands of the Titans and the chosen heroes, which terrified them and made them work hard to avoid this fate. 200 years before the Searing of Ascalon, the Burned Warband, a group of Charr dedicated to the Flame Legion, ventured to the lands surrounding the Herengmar volcano. Upon its return, the Warband claimed to have found gods for the Charr at long last to even the odds against the humans who had managed to drive the Charr out of Ascalon with the help of their own gods. Eager for a new purpose and filled with pride, members of the Flame Legion swore allegiance to the Titans, converting or destroying anyone who stood in their path. One by one, the legions of the Charr would fall beneath the control of these quote-unquote gods and their shamans, and the Charr at last learned new magic, a new means of destroying their human enemies south of the Great Wall. In the end, the shamans of the rival legions met in secret, unified their differences, and swore to force each legion to follow these new gods. As one, they returned to their individual city-states and eventually convinced their people to worship the Titans via both persuasion and force. All save for one Charr named Bethia Havocbringer, who fought against the sacrilege and was killed for it by the shamans, her execution a sacrifice to the Charr's new gods. Because of Bethia's disobedience to the new order, all females of her legion, and in short order all females among the Charr, were removed from warbands and armies, reduced to performing utility tasks at home in the cities of the legionnaires. Gold was used in shaman rituals to the Titans. The shamans, who led Titan worship, also used braziers of fire as icons of their newfound gods. When the Charr struck against Ascalon again in 1070 AE, it was with all the fury of destiny denied. with a magical artifact known as the Cauldron of Cataclysm gifted to them by their new gods. The shamans called forth the magic of the Titans and performed the ritual of the Searing. It is said the cauldron's magic was older than the Charr, older even than recorded history, and forged by ancient entities fallen into sleep and quiescence. With the cauldron, the shamans summoned titanic crystal meteors to rain down upon their enemies, ravaging farmland and shattering the wall before entering the Ascalonian heartlands and beginning another chapter in the devastating human-Charr conflict. During this time, the shamans believed that the Titans would build the Charr a bridge to the next world within 10 years, while Tyria itself would be done. Emboldened by their victory and manipulated by the Titans, the shamans decided to divide their forces to not only continue the war in Ascalon, but to strike at the other human kingdoms of Kryta and Or, bringing multiple searing cauldrons to assist them in the invasion of the latter. Both invasion attempts ended in failure, however. Using forbidden scrolls, Vizier Khilbron, advisor to King Reza of Or, cast a powerful spell which sank Or, his people, and the Charr horde invading the kingdom led by Imperator Ventus into the depths of what became known as the Sea of Sorrows. In Kryta, the Mersad helped their puppet Sol D'Alessio and his White Mantle Colt repel the Charr assault on Kryta. Khilbron had been converted to the faith of Abaddon, however, and returned as an undead lich while commanding his fallen Orient brethren, whom he had raised as undead. Having learned about Glint's Flameseeker prophecies, he began scheming to ensure that the prophecy would be fulfilled. He viewed himself as the eponymous Flameseeker who was destined to rule Tyria by unleashing the Titans from the realm of torment through the Ring of Fire's Door of Kamali, which the Mersad had been keeping shut via sacrifices of magically potent beings, mainly humans, in order to prevent the Titans from breaking through en masse and destroy the Mersad as had been written. Khilbron wielded the magical scepter of Or in his grim task, believing it to have the power to control the Titans and successfully open the Door of Kamali after manipulating a group of chosen heroes to fight the Mersad for him before revealing his true ambitions to his unwitting pawns. Although the gateway only remained open for a brief time before the heroes defeated Khilbron and sealed the door in 1072 AE, some of the ancient demons emerged from it, as did countless souls who were sent through to become Titans themselves. Among these Titans were their champions, the dreaded Armageddon Lords, which would lead the Horde as they spread havoc across Tyria. The Titans successfully slaughtered most of the Tyrian Mersad and forced a handful of the latter into hiding. However, the Titans were ultimately defeated by the heroes and other Tyrian defenders in turn, thus all but erasing two grave threats to Tyria as Glint had foreseen in her prophecies. Although Glint had sent the heroes across central Tyria to stop the rampaging Titans, some Titans nevertheless managed to slip past them, as the Titans' ferocity had even managed to catch the Dragon Prophet by surprise. Following Abaddon's attempted return and ultimate defeat at the hands of heroes, and Cormyr's ascension to godhood to replace him in 1075 AE, the Fury decided to serve a new master, a great Marganite champion called Malix the Unyielding, who was trying to raise himself as the new lord of Marganites and to defy Cormyr's rule. With the help of demonic troops, the Fury tormented the souls of the prisoners within the walls of the Foundry to create more Titans. The heroes, who had slain Abaddon, aided the Forgotten as well as the Order of Whispers, fought back against Malix and his forces, ultimately defeating him, the Fury, and the other Lords of Anguish, and shutting down the Foundry to prevent the creation of more Titans in the Realm of Torment. In 1078 AE, a joint force of Charr rebels, led by Pyre Fearshot, and a group of Ebon Vanguard, led by Gwen Thackeray, located and defeated a lone Titan near Grothmar Valley. Now that is all we know about the Titans until their reappearance in the Janthier Wilds expansion. Some of these things sound fairly noteworthy, especially the idea that the Titans have existed before the meddling of the human gods. So could there be a way that the knowledge of how to create titans didn't originate with the Fury and was perhaps passed on or acquired in some way before this? We spoke about Arachnia in a previous video. Could there be some involvement here as well? Let me know your thoughts down below and join me next time as I want to lay out some cool hints ArenaNet gave us and propose some theories before we head into the final part of the Janthea Wilds expansion. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all then. Bye guys!